My name is Mia. I'm 28 years old. I live alone and work in a small clothing store. My days are quiet, and my nights are usually spent watching TV or reading. I don't have many friends, but I've always believed in love. Real love. The kind that makes you feel like you matter. I met Ryan at my best friend's birthday party. I almost didn't go that night. I was tired and didn't feel pretty, but I went anyway. Ryan was there, standing by the drinks table, laughing and talking to everyone. When he looked at me, something in my chest moved. He walked over and said, "You have a beautiful smile." My cheeks turned red. We talked for the rest of the night. He asked me about my life, my dreams, and what made me happy. No one had ever asked me those things before. I felt seen. I felt special. The next morning, I got a message from him. "Good morning, beautiful. Can I see you again?" I smiled so hard it hurt. That was the beginning. We started texting every day. He made me feel like I was the most important woman in the world. At first, he treated me like a princess. He brought me flowers. He kissed my forehead. He listened when I talked. He said, "Mia, you're not like other girls. You're real." I believed him. I thought he was different. I thought he was kind. I thought I was lucky. But slowly, something changed. His messages got shorter. He stopped calling me every night. I waited for his texts, but sometimes they didn't come at all. When I asked if he was okay, he said, "Don't be so sensitive." He laughed when I looked hurt. One evening, I made him dinner. Pasta, his favorite. I wore a red dress and even lit candles. When he arrived, he barely looked at me. He sat down, ate quickly, and stared at his phone. I asked, "Is something wrong?" And he rolled his eyes. He said, "Why do you always ask questions? Just let things be." I felt like I had done something wrong, but I didn't know what. After dinner, he left without saying thank you. No kiss, no hug, just silence. I sat on the couch and stared at the wall. The next day, I sent him a heart emoji. He didn't reply. Hours later, he wrote one word: busy. That word broke something in me, but I still told myself it was fine. He had work. He was tired. He would come back to me like before. That weekend, I decided to surprise him. I bought coffee and muffins from his favorite cafe. I did my makeup and wore a nice coat. I smiled all the way to his apartment. I wanted to see him. I wanted him to see me. I missed him. He opened the door and looked confused. "What are you doing here?" he asked. I held up the coffee and said, "I brought you something." He took it but didn't smile. "You can't just come over like this, Mia." I looked down. "I thought you'd be happy." He said, "I'll call you later," and closed the door. I stood there for a moment. Then I walked away. My heart felt heavy, but I didn't cry. Not yet. I just kept hearing his voice in my head. "You can't just come over like this." That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept looking at my phone. No message. No missed call. Nothing. My hands were cold. My chest felt empty. I started to wonder if he ever really cared. I tried to stop the thoughts, but they kept coming. The next evening, he finally called. His voice was flat. "Mia, you need to stop. You're too much. You cry too much. You care too much. You don't know how to relax." I said, "I just love you, Ryan." He laughed. "You don't even know what love is," he said, then hung up. I stared at my phone. I didn't move. I didn't cry. I just sat there and felt nothing. How did we go from love to this? How did I let him treat me this way? I looked around my room. His shirt was still on my chair. Our picture was still on the wall. I felt like trash. Used. forgotten, left behind. He made me feel like I was nothing. But even worse, I had let him. I gave him all my love, and he gave me silence. But in that silence, something inside me whispered, "You don't deserve this. You are more than this." The morning after that call, I stood in front of the mirror and didn't recognize myself. My eyes were tired. My skin looked pale. I used to smile at my reflection, but now I just stared. I didn't feel pretty. I didn't feel loved. I didn't feel like me. At work, I made mistakes. I folded the clothes the wrong way. I dropped things. My manager asked if I was okay. I forced a smile and said yes, but my heart wasn't in it. I just wanted to check my phone every 5 minutes. Every time I heard a sound, I hoped it was a message from Ryan. Most of the time, it wasn't. And when it was, the texts were short, cold, empty. Yeah. Okay. Later. I used to feel excited when I saw his name. Now I felt sick. At night, I cried into my pillow. I tried to be quiet so the neighbors wouldn't hear. I scrolled through old photos and old messages. "Miss you already?" he once wrote. That message used to make me smile. Now it felt like a lie. Tara, my best friend, called me later that week. She said, "Let's go out to dinner. You need some fresh air." I didn't want to go, but I didn't want to spend another night crying. So I said yes, and I put on makeup even though my hands were shaking. At the restaurant, she talked and joked like always. But halfway through the meal, she stopped and looked at me. "Mia," she said, "you're not okay. What's going on?" I looked away, but my eyes filled with tears. I couldn't pretend anymore. I told her everything. I told her how he changed, how he stopped caring, how I still loved him but felt invisible. Tara didn't interrupt. She just listened. Then she took my hand and said, "This is not what love looks like." "But I love him," I whispered. She said, "I know. But love shouldn't hurt you like this. You shouldn't feel small." Her words stayed in my mind for days. I heard them again and again. Even when Ryan finally texted, "Come over," I remembered them. He didn't say, "How are you?" or "I miss you." Just, "Come over." Still, I went. Maybe I wanted to see his face. Maybe I wanted him to say sorry. Maybe I just wanted him to act like he used to. I hoped for something warm, something kind. But when I walked into his apartment, it was cold in every way. The place was messy. He didn't smile. He didn't hug me. He just sat on the couch and said, "Can you bring me some water?" I got it for him. Then I sat beside him. He didn't even look at me. I said, "I miss how we used to talk." He looked at the TV and said, "Things change." I asked, "Do you still love me?" He didn't answer. Just silence. That silence was louder than any words. I noticed a coffee mug on the table. There was lipstick on it, not mine. My stomach turned. My hands started to shake. But I didn't ask. I didn't want to hear the truth, even though I already knew it. I stood up. "I'm going home," I said. He looked confused. "What? Why?" I didn't answer. I picked up my coat. He rolled his eyes and turned back to the TV. He didn't even say goodbye. I cried the whole way home, but inside, something started to change. A small voice inside me was waking up. It was weak at first, but it said something clear. "You deserve more than this." That night, I sat in bed and opened my photo gallery. I deleted every picture of us. I opened the drawer and threw away the letters he wrote me. I blocked his number. My heart was breaking, but I knew I had to do it. The next morning, I felt strange, empty but lighter, like I could breathe again. I didn't check my phone every minute. I didn't wait for his message. It still hurt, but the pain felt cleaner. It felt like the start of something new. I bought a notebook. I started writing a few lines every night. I'm sad today. I cried today, but only once. I didn't miss him today. Each page was a small step. I wasn't healed, but I was moving. Days passed, then weeks. Slowly, the silence felt less heavy. I went for walks. I smiled at strangers. I started listening to music again. And one day, Tara came over and looked at me for a long moment. "You look different," she said. I smiled. "I feel different." For the first time in a long time, I meant it. Spring arrived, and with it came small changes in me. I started waking up earlier. I opened my windows to let the air in. I cooked simple meals just for myself. I didn't play sad songs anymore. I didn't think about Ryan the same way. One morning, I walked past a mirror and stopped. I didn't look broken. My face was still soft, still kind. My eyes looked tired, but there was something new there, a little strength, something I didn't see before. At work, I smiled more. Customers said, "You look happy today." I wasn't fully happy yet, but I wasn't broken anymore. I could stand, speak, and breathe without thinking about him every second. That was something. One day, I opened a message from an unknown number. It said, "Hi, can we talk?" I knew it was him. Ryan. I didn't reply. My hands shook, but I closed the message and blocked the number. I sat in silence for a while. He had many chances to talk, to care, to treat me like I mattered. Now, when I was finally learning to love myself, he wanted to return. But I wasn't the same girl who waited for his messages. That girl was gone. Later that week, I ran into his friend Liam in the grocery store. He looked surprised to see me. "You look well," he said. "Ryan's been asking about you." I smiled politely. "I'm doing okay." I didn't ask about Ryan. I didn't want to. After that, I felt a mix of things. Part of me was proud. Part of me still hurt. But I didn't cry. That was new. I came home, made tea, and sat by the window. I thought about who I was now, not who I used to be. I remembered the night I met Ryan. I remembered how his words made me feel special. But now I knew. His words weren't love. They were just words. Love isn't about sweet names and flowers. Love is how someone makes you feel when things aren't perfect. Tara called me the next day. "I signed us up for a painting class," she said. "You need something fun." I laughed. "I can't paint." She replied, "That's the point. You don't need to be good. Just come." The class was in a small studio. The teacher was kind. She gave us brushes and told us to paint whatever we felt. I looked at the blank paper for a long time. Then I started painting soft colors, blues, yellows, light pinks. Tara looked at my work and said, "It looks peaceful." I smiled. That's how I wanted to feel. Not perfect, not exciting, just peaceful, just safe, and maybe a little proud. Over the next few weeks, I tried more new things. I started baking. I joined a weekend book group. I even began walking to work instead of taking the bus. I liked feeling the wind on my face in the morning. Sometimes I still thought about Ryan, but the thoughts didn't hurt like before. They were just memories, old chapters from a book I had already closed. I no longer waited for his return. I no longer needed his approval to feel good. One evening, I sat on my bed with a cup of tea and my notebook. I flipped back through the pages. The first entries were full of pain. I feel empty. He ignored me again. Why do I love someone who hurts me? But now, the words were different. I felt calm today. I laughed with Tara. I am okay on my own. Each sentence was like a soft light, not bright, but steady. I closed the book and smiled. That night I wrote a new page. I am not trash. I was never trash. I was just lost in someone who didn't see me. It had been 3 months since I last saw Ryan. In those months, something inside me began to change. I was still healing, yes, but I no longer felt empty. I no longer waited for his name to appear on my phone. I no longer felt broken. I started going on walks again. I made breakfast every morning and played soft music in the background. I talked to people more. I smiled more. Slowly, I was building a life that felt peaceful, a life that was mine, not shaped by someone else. At work, I was better. I helped customers with joy. My manager noticed. "You look brighter these days," she said. I just smiled. I didn't tell her why, but inside, I knew it was because I had let go of someone who made me feel like nothing. One Saturday, I visited the market near my home. I wore a simple dress, and for the first time, I didn't wear makeup. Still, I felt beautiful, not because someone told me so, but because I believed it. That feeling was new, and it was mine. As I walked past a fruit stand, I saw a little girl drop her toy. Her mother didn't notice. I picked it up and gave it back to her. The girl smiled and said, "Thank you." That small smile stayed with me all day. I felt like I mattered, even in quiet ways. Later that evening, I got a message on social media. It was Ryan. His name didn't shock me this time. The message was simple. "Hey, how are you?" I stared at it for a moment. Then I closed the app and didn't reply. I felt no anger, just peace. He didn't deserve to know how I was. He didn't deserve to come back into my life just because he felt lonely. I had given him so many chances. I had cried, waited, and begged. Not anymore. That chapter was closed. I was done being treated like trash. That night, I walked to the park near my flat. I took my notebook with me and sat on a bench under a quiet tree. The wind was soft, and the sky was turning orange. I took a deep breath and started to write. I wrote slowly, carefully, like each word mattered. "I am not weak," I wrote. "I am not too much. I am kind. I am strong. And I am enough." I read those words again. I closed the notebook and smiled. For the first time, I didn't need anyone else to tell me my worth. I finally believed it myself. A woman sitting nearby saw my notebook. She said, "Are you writing a book?" I laughed and said, "No, just something for myself." She smiled and said, "That's the best kind of writing." I nodded. She was right. Some stories are just for healing. I walked home slowly. The air felt cool, and my heart felt light. I passed the cafe where Ryan once took me. I didn't look inside. I didn't need to. That memory didn't hurt anymore. It was just part of the past, not part of my future. Back home, I made tea and sat by the window. I thought about the girl I was months ago, the one who waited for love that never came, who begged for attention, who cried alone in the dark. That girl deserved so much more. And now, she was becoming me. I was not trash. I was not crazy. I was not too emotional. I was human. I gave love to someone who didn't value it. And still, I survived. I learned. I grew. I didn't just walk away from him. I walked back to myself. And that was the most beautiful thing I ever did. The next morning, I woke up before my alarm. I stretched slowly and sat up in bed. The room was quiet. I looked around and smiled. It was a small space, but it was mine. No shouting, no silence that hurt, just peace. I walked to the kitchen and made tea. I held the warm cup in my hands and looked out the window. It was raining lightly. I used to hate rainy days, but now they felt calm, like the world was slowing down, just for a little while. I decided to go out anyway. I wore my raincoat and took a walk. I passed the cafe where Ryan and I used to sit. For a second, the memory came back, the way he held my hand, the way I laughed at his jokes. But I didn't stop. I kept walking. Sometimes the past visits you. It whispers old feelings and old hopes. But you don't have to sit with it. You don't have to invite it back in. You can let it pass like a bus you don't need to catch. I walked to the small bookstore nearby. It was warm inside. I looked at the shelves and picked up a book about strong women. I read the back cover and smiled. I didn't buy it, but I whispered to myself, I think I'm becoming one of them. The lady at the counter asked, "Looking for something?" I said, "No, just passing time." She smiled kindly. "That's allowed." It was a small moment, but it made me feel human, not broken, not lost. Just a person. Just me. Later that day, I cleaned my home. I played music and danced while folding clothes. I laughed at myself when I dropped a sock. I used to clean with tears in my eyes. Now, I cleaned with music in my heart. I took out an old box from under the bed. Inside were some letters, small gifts, and photos of Ryan and me. I sat on the floor, looking through them one last time. I didn't cry. I just breathed deeply and said, "Thank you for the lesson." Then I closed the box, walked outside, and dropped it into the trash bin. It wasn't an act of hate. It was an act of peace. I was not throwing away love. I was letting go of pain. I was making space for something better. That evening, Tara called. "Come out with me," she said. "It's karaoke night." I laughed. "You know I can't sing." She replied, "Exactly. No one can. That's why it's fun." I said yes. At the bar, the lights were soft and the room was full of laughter. Tara sang first. Then she pushed me up on stage. My heart was beating fast. I held the mic and looked at the screen. The music started. I sang badly. I missed some words. But people clapped and smiled. I laughed. For the first time in so long, I didn't care how I looked. I didn't care if someone was judging me. I just had fun. After I sat down, a woman tapped my shoulder. "You have a sweet voice," she said. I smiled and thanked her. Her words felt honest and kind. I didn't need sweet lies anymore. I wanted real kindness. That's what I was learning to give and to receive. The next day, I wrote in my notebook, "I am learning to enjoy my own company. I am learning to forgive myself for staying too long. I am learning that healing is not fast, but it's happening." Some nights, I still missed him. Not him exactly, but the idea of being held, of being chosen. But I knew now, love without respect is not real love. Being chosen once doesn't matter if they keep choosing to hurt you after. I used to think Ryan made me feel special, but now I see I made him feel special. I gave, I loved, I stayed. He didn't treasure it. That wasn't my failure. That was his. Now, I choose me. Every day. I get up, brush my hair, drink my tea, and show up for myself. I no longer wait to be seen. I see myself. I no longer wait to be loved. I love myself. And every day, that love grows stronger. I am not the same woman I was before, but I am not broken. I am becoming whole. Slowly. Gently. With every step I take. And that is more powerful than anything he could have given me.